Hey, and welcome to Discard 2 or Plus or Pro or U or something. We haven't quite figured out how to name this channel yet. But essentially what this channel is going to be is a place for me to talk about video games. Now, I've seen a question kind of revolve around the internet, especially around the retro gaming community, and that's whether or not you are a gamer or a collector first. And I think this question is both designed to be kind of divisive and polarizing and very interesting at the same time, because it does promote conversation around the topic of game collectors. And part of the problem with this question is that the only way you can really answer it is from your own perspective. And I can say unequivocally, I am definitely a gamer first. The first thing that I did was play a video game at a friend's house. I didn't own that game. I didn't have any cartridges. I didn't have a console. I played a video game at a friend's house and I loved it. And that led to me today having all of these games and all of these consoles and playing lots of video games. And it became my hobby. But why do I think I'm a gamer first rather than a collector first? Because I played games first, and that's what led to collecting. And I never stopped playing games. I haven't ever decided to stop playing games, and I probably will never stop to play video games. I think overall video games have been a beneficial part of my life for a very long period of time. I've had plenty of lapses in playing video games. It's certainly not been a constant throughout my entire life. I served a year in Afghanistan with the Army, and that certainly wasn't a great time to be playing a bunch of video games. So I'm not even sure if the question is really truly stated the way it should be stated. Maybe it should be what percentage of you is collector, what percentage of you is gaming, or what percentage of your time you're spending collecting, or what percentage of your time you're spending playing video games. Is your collecting inevitably to play the games that you collect, or is your collecting only to collect and put things on your wall? And I don't have any problems with people collecting video games just to have them on their wall. I have an entire channel dedicated to displaying said video games. I love giving video games that secondary use, and I do talk about that in all of my videos. I always talk about the secondary use. And secondary use meaning the first use you have of a video game is playing said video game. And the secondary use being, if it's just gonna sit on your wall, it might as well look pretty cool and be an additional part of your collection as a whole, as opposed to just being a bunch of spines or just put in a box in your closet. That being said, if you're also putting your games in your closet, are you more likely to play those games if they're out of sight? I'm not so sure. I think you're more likely to play a video game that is on your wall, that's available to you, that's more accessible. And I think that's important too when you're designing a game room, is making sure that things are accessible and things make a lot of sense. But certainly I'm a gamer first. When I collect a game, I put it into a system and I at least try it out to give it a try, see how it goes. And that's kind of the fun of collecting for me, is discovering other games out there that people may have not found yet. Maybe people haven't recommended to other people. There's a lot of video games already accessible in physical form out there to collect. And on top of that, I'm all into modern video games and the future of video games and gaming. I love to dig into these modern titles. I love what Nintendo's been doing with their IPs. Sony's been knocking it out of the park. I think 2017 was one of the biggest golden years that we've had in gaming since the 90s. And I'm also heavily into the whole advertising portion of this and the companies behind it and what's happening at these companies. I think as I get older, I do care a little bit more about where these games come from as opposed to just consuming them. So I think in a lot of ways I might be an unusual human where I kind of just care about gaming as a whole. I definitely see it as a topic, but since so many of my relationships and the people around my life have kind of revolved around gaming, I even game with my wife and my son. Gaming as a whole has a lot to give. It has a lot to take as well. And if I think about it, gaming is not any better than any other hobby. I mean, most hobbies, you meet other people and you have relationships with those people, and a lot of good stuff can come out from kind of having this like-minded ability to do this hobby with somebody else. Especially in a world where all of our opinions are totally different than everyone else's, having that one thing that you guys all do together can really align people for that moment. And that's where you make friendships, relationships, and life gets good. Now, I'm definitely a gamer first because I love playing video games. That's why I collect video games. That's why I display the video games on my shelves, and that kind of leads to this exact moment, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a collector first either. Maybe your fun is not derived from the video games and you don't really care for video games anymore and you just want to collect them. if that's all you want to do, that's totally fine. There's tons of collectors who do the same thing. They go out, they find games, they live the adventure of kind of tracking down rare and unusual titles, and they put them on their shelf and they leave them there. And I think a lot of times you'll see those people get the full, complete collection and they sell that collection. And that's a sign of wanting to start over that whole process, start collecting it again, and really getting back into that adventure again. And that kind of shows where your allegiances lie as far as what you're doing when you're collecting. You're after that thrill, you're after that exploration, that hunt for the treasure, that sharing of stories with other collectors, and that's absolutely awesome. So short video today, but I figured I'd start off this channel by kind of putting a video out there that's going to be similar to future videos that I'll be making on the channel, which is kind of discussing some of the questions that the retro gaming community kind of puts out there. A lot of other YouTubers and personalities respond to these questions, and I've always wanted a place where I could respond to them myself. Unfortunately, Discard is all about displaying video games, and I kind of want to keep it that way. It's a fantastic place. I love doing that, but I also want a little place where I can throw some opinion into the wind, into the void, and just have a good time with it. So I hope everybody out there has a fantastic day today. Whether you're a collector first, a gamer first, or you fall somewhere in the middle, you're still awesome. You're doing the same thing as everyone else. You're looking for all of these benefits that gaming has for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. So have a fantastic day and collect what you love.